Ice is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It's a Freestyle Friday. We got a lot of things to get into. El Clasico in Spain this weekend. We have Racing and Independiente in Argentina this weekend. We've got the NWSL back in competitive matches tonight with the NWSL Challenge Cup. We're 1 week away from MLS, and they've got the season off to a good start in the ConcaChampions. All the things this morning. We'll get you ready for the weekend. We'll get caught up on all of the stuff from yesterday. If you missed the show last night, thanks to everybody at Dalton Brewing. Thanks to everybody who came out. We'll have on the podcast side of things a interview from last night with Karim Dashir of North Georgia Soccer Association and Jeremy Alamba from Chattanooga FC talking about their partnership. You know, how important it is to grow the game in different communities, why it's important for a professional team like Chattanooga FC to work with an independent youth club and what the partnership looks like, and other things that came up. Some good questions from the audience as well. So that'll go up on the podcast side of things this weekend. You can go back and watch the show from Twitch last night. Got a week off. We're not going to be on the road next week. We have a special coming up next Thursday that we will drop here in a little bit. It is a very cool, very unique special for next Thursday night. In place of being out at a live show, we'll be back on the road here in a couple of weeks. Thanks to Scott and the Flood Project for getting us up to Dalton last night. The milk stout was very tasty. It was very good, and it was a fun trip.
Was Lee Greenwood there?
Lee Greenwood was not there, Jarrett Smith. He did not make the trip. He did not show up for the show. We did talk about high school soccer rivalries in Northwest Georgia, and they are intense. And there's a big one next Friday with Dalton and Southeast Whitfield that could have 4,000 or 5,000 people in the building for it.
It remains one of my favorite stories. Is a guy I used to work with was a broadcaster from Dalton. And as he put it, he said one time Dalton traveled to Atlanta for a football game, and for whoever they were playing, held up a giant banner that said, "What even is a catamount?"
Oh no!
He said Dalton proceeded to win by 50 points.
What's the deal with it? Why do you say "oh no," John? Like, why is this a big deal?
When it comes to high school football, don't poke the bear, or in this case, an indigenous mountainous cat. When Dalton was in their heyday with Bill Chappell and Coach McManus, and when they were really boat racing folks, anything to poke the bear was a reason to put 50 on somebody, and that was not wise.
So you're not allowed to ask what their mascot is? That's just not okay. There's some unwritten rule?
No. I would have.
It was a jab in this case.
Yeah,
it wasn't a honest question. It was a jab, and Dalton was basically, as John put it, as old Sam Lake once told me, he said, "Yeah, the same thing John said. Like when they were in their heyday, they didn't need an excuse, but they welcomed it."
Okay, sure. I think now I might be pulling for Southeast Whitfield in this game because that's some really silly pettiness.
Sam will find me if I don't.
That's fine. I'll go Southeast. That's next Friday. Big soccer scene up in Northwest Georgia. It was very cool to dip into it last night. It won't be our only trip up there. Okay, so yesterday's news, which we did talk about on the show last night. Alan Franco is now a member of Atlanta United. It is official. He will be speaking to the media later today. The surprising element of it was the fact that he will be a designated player. I don't exactly know how. Welcome to MLS. These are the things that we live in. We're trying to talk about this league at times. From what we've heard about the transfer fee and the length of the contract, we don't know the salary. Doesn't seem to add up. There's got to be something that has not been reported or we don't know, or some kind of rule change in terms of MLS. Like, I don't exactly understand how he is a designated player based on what we know. What we do know is Marcelino Moreno was bought down, so he is not a designated player now, and we've known, honestly, from pretty soon after he was signed, that was going to be a possibility whenever you needed to do it. If I'm guessing correctly, and this is a guess on my part, so understand that it is speculation on my end because of what we don't know. I would assume that Alan Franco is not exactly a massive designated player and could probably be bought down later on as well. Now you got to manage that stuff as the contracts run. The cap hit should diminish. We think possibly. It depends on how you want to work these things. Again, the things with MLS, we don't know. We don't know what they can do. We don't know how the cap hit spread. We don't know all the different mechanisms for all of this stuff. We are guessing. But Franco can't be a huge designated player to the point that there's no way you could buy him down. Yes, we are not Miami. Thank you, Matt Wagner. There's a plan here. The thing for Miami, and I think maybe it's been a conversation with what all this looks like. With Miami, and again, we don't know salaries because the MLSPA did not publish salaries from last year, but Blaise Matuidi, probably on a pretty big salary. I don't believe there was a transfer fee in his deal, but there's also been questions about how that deal was actually put on paper, so there's even more about that. But I don't think he would be a low designated player to buy down. Gonzalo Higuain, I would assume, is making a pretty nice salary. Matias Pellegrini is one of the others, and he would be one that I would think maybe you could have bought down, but it was a pretty substantial transfer fee. Don't know salary. Rodolfo Pizarro was not a small transfer fee. I don't think there's any way you could buy him down. I think he's the one that you definitely couldn't do. So, again, guessing. Total guessing game. What does it mean in terms of the impact with Atlanta United? If he's a designated player, and we knew there was a significant investment in Alan Franco, if he is that status, that type of investment, there is a lot of expectation that goes along with that. He will be expected to be the starter. How soon that happens depends on how soon he's comfortable. Could that be Tuesday? Yeah, it sounds like it could be. I don't know how much he's trained. I guess we'll probably get more answers on these things today. He did go through a quarantine process. I don't know how many sessions he's got. I don't know if he's been able to do a lot of video work in the meantime to get accustomed to what Gabriel Heinze is going to want out of his center backs. These are the unknowns that we'll have to kind of wait and see how it goes. I would expect to see Alan Franco over the next two games, which is Alajuelense on Tuesday and Orlando on Saturday. I think that's a safe expectation. I don't know if it's to start. I don't know if it's off the bench. I don't know if you're going to ease him in. He had been playing regularly at Independiente. He played the night before he left for Atlanta, and he hasn't played in about 2.5 weeks, I think is where we're at. Maybe 3 weeks now, but he started to train, and we don't know where that falls. So, and you can do a little bit on your own when you're in quarantine in a workout room and these kinds of things, but how much, not sure. So Alan Franco will be expected to be a starter. He's got to earn the job. Anton Walkes delivered a good performance in Costa Rica. He's not going to hand it over, but Anton Walkes becomes that valuable defensive utility man that we've talked about. Jarrett, now that it's done, Alan Franco, I'm sure you've been reading the different reports, seeing what everybody's got to say about Senor Franco. What is your expectation now that it feels Atlanta United is a complete roster for 2021?
It feels like, to me, more than anything, you have acquired a stupid amount of depth in what's going to be a very weird summer. I don't think Alan Franco has any international ties for playing for Argentina at all.
No.
At 24, he can't play for the youth teams. He's not going to play for the first team. Miles Robinson's not going to go to the Olympics, so that's one less problem. I wonder if Robinson would get called up for the Gold Cup.
He could.
And now you have depth to survive what could be a really weird summer. Like, you're going to lose Barco. You're probably going to lose Joseph, I would imagine. Robinson's a possibility. Hell, Bello is a possibility. If you told me that Berhalter called in Bello to sit at the end of the bench and be a guy who's just kind of there to play left back, I wouldn't bet against it necessarily. But you needed bodies. Anton Walkes and is done well. I think Walkes has gotten better every time he goes out. He's not an old player. Let's not get it twisted. Anton Walkes is still pretty young. George Campbell came in and gave you a few minutes, and you know what George is at this point, and in the sense of you know what he can become. Not that he's a finished product by any means, but now you've got more depth to be able to survive those dog days of summer, and a guy who's coming in and you expect him to take that starting spot and run with. That should be his starting spot based on, I would imagine at this point, based on talent and based on what you paid for it. You paid him to come in here and take that starting spot. Not that you handed it to him, but you paid him the money saying, here's the money, come in and take that starting spot. That shouldn't be hard for you considering what we just paid. I don't know about why it's a DP. Maybe Atlanta threw a couple more dollars at Independiente saying, here's a few more. Next time, let's just make this easier, please.
Yeah, maybe so. John, what are you thinking about Atlanta United's roster now that it appears to be complete?
Well, you're looking for, and Jarrett mentioned it and you mentioned it too, that you're looking at depth for summer. You're looking at depth for multiple competitions across the year anyway, whether you're talking CONCACAF Champions League, you're talking, you're talking national stuff for folks who are on your rosters, regardless of what country we're talking about. And also at the same time, we talked about it last night in Dalton. I believe it was Brian Dunseth said in his analysis of the roster, you thought you were close. You're getting guys like Alan Franco to fill in those spots because you thought you were close to compete for a championship, competing for MLS Cup. And I think that, once again, what this does gives you depth for multiple competitions, gives you competition in training every single day to make sure everyone is better across the board. But at the same time, I think that instead of chasing after, another position player, for your top five or your top six, or your front five or your front six, you're going after center backs, which means you think that with the roster that you had going in that you were close. This to me seems like one of those moves to shore up your flanks for all of the things that could happen in the summer with multiple competitions, schedule compression, what have you. But at the same time, you're chasing after MLS Cup. This is one of those transactions that really you think can solidify that run.
Now, a couple of things on Franco. I do think there's going to be a little bit of a kind of implementation phase for him with the way he will be asked to play here versus what he did at Independiente. I want to compare a couple things just so you get a sense of this. The match from Tuesday against Alajuelense, and we know the first half, Atlanta United played their game. Second half, they weren't able to. Possession, he had 52% of it. That's low for what Gabriel Heinze is going to want. He's going to want around 60. So to keep that in mind, you didn't get as much of the ball as you wanted to in this game. Santiago Sosa, playing at center back in this one, led the team in touches with 83. He had 49 accurate passes in the match. Let's look back at Franco's last complete season with Independiente. Now, this is the 2019-20 season where he played 18 matches, started all 18. He averaged 62 touches per game. He averaged 39.6 accurate passes per game, 81%. That was about what Miles Robinson did in this game. If you're going to play a 4-3-3, which will be the predominant shape that Atlanta United plays with two center backs, and you expect them to be Robinson and Franco, Sosa will be in the mix, and he'll get, I think, the majority of the touches in the build-up phase. But you're going to need Franco to probably be on the ball more than he was in that season. Again, that was the last full season that he played. In this most current season, he was getting about 5 less touches and a couple less passes per game that were accurate. That's a little bit down to Falcioni, the manager at Independiente, being more defensive. So there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. The good things about him in making that adjustment is he does have a history playing in a team that valued possession. He does have that. So it's going to be a little bit of a flashback memory for him, going back to those times under Ariel Holan especially. But he can do it. He does have the aggressiveness that is needed. And I thought Chris Smith had a good profile of him over at Dirty South Soccer. He will step to the ball. He will be very aggressive. That actually is a very good compliment for Miles Robinson because Miles can do those things, but you like to have Miles drifting in behind to clean it up. So when you look at the way that this team will play, and it's 4-3-3, which you'll see most often, Franco can be the aggressive one dealing with the opponent's number 9 when they're trying to play out. Robinson can be the free man defensively. You always have to have the free man. You love when it's Miles Robinson because of how much range he can cover. You saw what Alawalense tried to do as they understood how Atlanta was going to play. They tried to drop the ball into that space, hit a long through ball, or drop it in over the top to where it's between the back 3 and Gazan. If Robinson is the free man in this scenario, he's got the pace to clean a lot of that up. It takes some of the burden off of Brad Gazan. It makes it work. So that's what I expect we'll see once they get up to speed, get to know one another, get some chemistry. How soon do we see Franco? I honestly don't know. There's all kinds of speculation. There's all kinds of guessing, and that's what it is right now. It's guessing. He will be available for selection on Tuesday. Will he start? Don't know. Maybe we'll get a sense of that when he speaks to the media today. Maybe when Gabriel Heinze speaks to the media on Monday, we'll get a sense of that. I don't feel like you have to rush him, but if he's ready, look, you've obviously committed the resources to him. He's going to be that guy. If he's ready, you're not going to hold him back. But we don't know if he's ready. And that's the thing. We'll just have to wait and see. Yes, Miles, the free man Robinson, El Mataflo. That is 100% going to be it. El Libero. That's what it's going to look like for Miles. And it suits him. It absolutely suits him. So with those two, with Sosa, when you need to have a third center back, Sosa can drop in and be that guy. You saw how it worked against Alawalense. There's a very good chance that's how it will work against Philadelphia this season, who play 2 up top. Montreal is a little bit of a wild card. Last year they played some 2 up top. Hernan Losada in D.C., he's played some 3-5-2 in his time at Beerschot. He's got the numbers to be able to play 2 up top if he wants to, but I have no idea what they're going to look like anyway. We'll have to wait and see. Outside of that, there's not a lot of 2 up top teams in MLS, so I think predominantly it will be Robinson and Franco with Sosa in front, but you saw how fluid it can be on Tuesday. So you have the flexibility. Franco is the guy that you zeroed in on. Now, look, you went after David Martinez. You went after Lautaro Giannetti. Things happened in both. Unexpected things. River Plate, Marcelo Gallardo calls in the favor, puts the pressure on Martinez to come back home to River. He takes it. He's not playing a ton. We'll see if that changes. Giannetti, you bring him in. You want to bring him in at that point. You know he can sit right into the system day one. You find something on the scan that worries you when you're going to commit millions of dollars. So you have to adjust. This is a really good adjustment. And Alan Franco is a guy that will be a starter and probably be here for a good bit of time.
Yeah, just looking forward to it. But to your original point, I don't think that you need to rush him. But obviously, if he's ready and has proven that he is ready in practice and in daily routine, then with the resources you've committed, he's going to be in the lineup. But I just, my biggest thing is you don't have to rush him, but if he's ready, he'll be in the lineup.
Yeah, and that's the good place you're in, is you don't have to rush him. And you've got a lot of different bodies who can play. I mean, just go through the back line. Left back, you trust Mikey Ambrose to be able to come in and play if Bello's not available. Now you trust Walks. You've got Alex DeJohn, who is a veteran in this back line. You've got George Campbell, who's young. Those are all reserves behind what you expect to be the starters of Robinson and Franco. You've got Hernandez and Lennon on the right side. You've got cover. Walks can give you cover on the outside too. You've got Sosa. You've got Adams. You've got Ibarra, who can all play the holding midfield. Sosa is obviously the best suited to it, but you have other solutions there if you need them. In that central midfield, we've went through it. You got a ton of different possibilities. Barco, Hindman, Hosechu, Tyler Wolf. Adams can step into a higher position there. Ibarra has already. You've got a lot of flexibility there. Moreno can come back in there if you need to. The wings, you got flexibility. Up top, you got flexibility. You've got a lot of depth. And the good thing is, Jarrett, and you've seen this in different teams before, and we've talked about it, you've got competition. And we don't know why Jurgen Damm didn't play, for example, on Tuesday in Costa Rica. But he's got competition for his spot. Brooks Lennon's got competition for his spot. Alan Franco will have competition for his spot. That makes a team better. It's such a vital part of being a top team You got to have internal competition.
I feel like we talked about this a lot last year and the year before when you were stocking up on guys. Of you don't necessarily, you might not necessarily have the same starting 11 every time because guys are competing week in and week out for those minutes, which is good. It's what you want. You want Ronald Hernandez to come in and push Brooks Lennon, who looks like he's gonna, if he does, we talked about this. If Brooks Lennon does what he's capable of, he's going to force his way back into the U.S. national team picture. That's what he is capable of, in my opinion. But you've got a Ronald Hernandez who can push him a bit. The Mikey Ambrose, as you said, can push George Bello. I don't think, in the sense of like you're not gonna bench George Bello for Mikey Ambrose unless things get super weird or something. But it's good to have that internal competition, someone who can push and drive you. You've got all your center back competitions, and you need that. You don't need guys getting complacent. Joseph's probably the guy you pin in on this lineup sheet in marker. After that, there might be names that you pick up the pin for, but you're writing them on a magnet so you can move them around because where they play can be very fluid. Is it going to be a Marcelino Moreno kind of sitting more in the middle? Is he going to be floating out wide? Same with Barco and vice versa. Jake Mulroney must have shown something to be handed a start in CONCACAF Champions League against a team that hadn't lost in 8 months. So, what does Jurgen Damm have to show to compete with that? Machop Chol makes the bench. What has he shown in practice that we haven't seen? These guys are going to be, pulling out all of the sharp and blunt instruments they can find to go at each other during training, non-injury, of course, because they're going to get better by doing this.
Absolutely. It's critical. And I think we've seen the value of these things this season play out with some different clubs. You're going to need depth. You never know what can happen. You could be Real Madrid and have all the injuries that they've had in a year. You could be a Barcelona and you have to turn to youth because of different situations. You have to be prepared for that. I think this is maybe the year that Atlanta United is the most prepared for that because you have a lot of flexibility. Modiflo talking about Dom and Mulroney. Maybe Heinze wanted an inverted winger for that game. Again, we don't know. Post-game media availabilities are going to be really interesting this year because I think if people want some of these answers, you're going to have to ask. And you're going to have to be, I think, pretty clear in asking some of these things. Frank, in the past, would give you a lot in postgame. Maybe sometimes too much. He would talk a lot. He'd give you a lot to work with. Tata and Jarrett, you were down there more. We didn't have the Tata press conferences because of the structure at that time on our post-game show. He gave you a pretty good bit, but you had to really work through it in Spanish, for example, to get, I think, a lot of the good stuff. For Gabriel, I think he'll answer the questions. I think he'll absolutely answer the questions. But you got to ask him. And these are things that I'll be curious to see if we start to get some answers to this as it goes. Because if you don't ask, he's not going to tell you.
No.
He wants to keep as much secret as he can.
Yeah, Tata it's juxtaposed a bit because he kind of had that friendly old grandfather visage about himself where you saw him and you talked to him and it was just this, you'd go to Tata and you'd say, buenas tardes, and he would just smile warmly and return welcomes back to you. And it was this kind old man. No, that man will fight you on the touchline.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he would. Absolutely would.
That man was not. I don't know if Chris Armas knows how close he might have been to catching hands that day.
I think Chris knows. I think he's happy that it didn't happen. He didn't want that street fight.
No, Tata could throw down, man. But Tata had that kind of just that warm sense, and I don't know if Heinze's going to have that or if it's going to be more of intense. And
yes,
that's fine. Look, every manager, every coach is different. You cannot, expect them all to be the same. In the same way, you can't expect human beings to be the same. People have different personalities. They handle things differently, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's completely okay. It's going to be fun to watch how the season evolves. There's going to be a lot of, looking at it from the outside, trying to figure these things out, especially right now where media is not, able to be there to see any of training. You don't have, as much access. But I think if you're paying attention to what the players are saying, I think the players are actually giving a good bit of information about kind of the mindset. They're not giving away secrets. Again, it's not like they're giving away the playbook. It's not anything like that. It's not somebody stole, the high school seniors playbook and they took it to the rival school and now they know what every play is. No, that's not how it goes. But they're giving a lot of the mindset to you. I think Mikey's been great with some of his interviews. You have a really good sense of those triangles, especially the wider triangles and how important they are in the way this team will play. It's going to be fun because I think the biggest difference is this feels like chess. This feels like chess rather than Tata, where you got a little bit of both. You did get like the up-tempo, high energy at times, and you got the more pragmatic style at times. But you saw a lot of consistency with this is how we line up, this is what we do. You didn't see a lot of changes to it. Frankie saw more changes. Frankie didn't see the tempo, but you saw some of the chess elements to it, especially in the spacing at times. This is going to give the up-tempo fast, but there's a lot of underpinning of soccer IQ to it. There's a lot of that if you just play up-tempo and you just run around, it doesn't work. You've got to have a structure in place to be able to do that effectively because playing faster pulls you out of that. If you're not structured properly, if you don't build up the play properly, you can't be effective just playing fast. You can't do it. So there's a lot going on here. And every time one of the players talks, every time Heinze talks, and you start to dig into this stuff, pay attention. It's fascinating. And look at some of the things that they talk about with other teams. You see some of it with Leeds. You see a decent bit of it with Manchester City at times. You'll see some of it with Mikel Arteta as well. You'll see some of it with Spain, with Luis Enrique. You'll see some of these elements in other teams. So when you hear it and then you're watching another game, look for some of the things. It's going to be fun, and we'll be trying to dig into this stuff as well as we go. Jarrett, you were pretty pumped up about something that Anton Walkes said yesterday, and we said a couple things. One, he was the one who told George Bello to get in between the referee and the Alajuelense players on the penalty to try to separate that and do it, which was, I gave Bello a lot of props. Now I shift them over to Walkes. Good on Bello doing it, but Walkes was the one who saw it. What did Walkes say about the halftime conversation with Gabriel Heinze, knowing you're a man down, Brad Gazan is out, you've got Rocco Rios Novo in net? That's gotten a lot of play I'm seeing in the fan base today.
That was actually Nick Alifi who was ready to run.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry. My bad. Nick, of course, Nick's going to run.
Folks are still ready to run.
My bad, Nick.
And that's fine. I just want to make sure Nick gets his shout. So from Anton Walkes, Heinze calmed us down at halftime and said, "It's football. Things will happen, and it's out of our hands." He was vocal and very loud, saying we can get a result regardless of what had happened, and we had. And we did. If you looked around at the team, I felt like there was more desire from the group, and I think that sort of filtered all the way down from the coach. He was very motivating.
Dig it. I mean, you've seen enough of him in the media availabilities, which are low-key media availabilities, and you can feel the intensity from him at times. So when you put him in an intense situation, you're going to be ready to run through a wall, and those things are important, especially early in a season, especially when you are a man down, especially when you're on the road, and especially when you get to that 75th minute and your legs feel like jelly and you can't run much anymore. And then you remember, yeah, I can do this. Yes, I can fight through this. Yes, I can do this. And that comes from the manager. So it's very exciting. Alex Pacine, I think you're dead on right. And this was the issue that I think led to the change. It was the anti-MLS is back mentality. They had fight. And I will take that second half and throw it up against the first half against Columbus and MLS is back, and it feels like two different sports. And that first half against Columbus in that tournament, because I thought you played pretty well against Red Bulls, a little bit unfortunate with the result. Yeah. Cincinnati, it's a weird game. You have the first half red. You give up a golazo. It's frustrating. All right. You have to come out with a response in Game 3 where you can advance. And the first half, you absolutely did not. That mentality was lacking, and I think that was honestly one of the biggest things that said, yeah, this isn't going in the right direction. It's time to change. You saw the absolute different thing here in the second half where you're playing with 10 and everything's against you, and you find a way. And you're level, by the way. You don't even have the lead you're trying to protect yet. You're just level. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. We're going to get lots of stories like that as the year goes on, I'm sure. Other things going on today, because there's a lot. The Copa Libertadores draw is today at 1 o'clock. It's always a blast to see how these groups turn out. You won't have teams from the same country except for teams that go through the qualifiers that are finishing up next week. You do have a very weird situation, and our good friend El Mataflo can fill in a lot more of the detail. Independiente del Valle was supposed to play their home leg against Grêmio earlier in the week, Brazilian team Grêmio. It was moved because Paraguay, and Mataflo, if I get something wrong here, please correct me. It was moved because the Paraguayan government did not want to allow the Brazilian team into the country. They have had some subsequent positive tests, so there's actually some decent reason for this. And the Brazilian variant is something a lot of people are very fearful of, understandably, of the coronavirus. So it was moved to Asunción, Paraguay, from Ecuador. Sorry, the Ecuadorian government didn't want to allow them in. My fault. The Paraguayan government, I think at one point there was an issue there about letting them in, but now it is scheduled to be played today. The first leg of this series is scheduled to be played today, 6:15. It will be on BN Sports. I believe everything is a go, but who knows the way this thing has gone. So Independiente del Valle loses their home leg against Grêmio. Grêmio was already in Ecuador when the outbreak happened. Thank you, Monoflo. I knew there was a lot more to it than that, but it's a mess. In the other qualification situation, Santos is hosting San Lorenzo. They lead 3-1. Libertad travels to Colombia to face Atlético Nacional next week. Libertad leads 1-0, but they go on the road for the second leg. Bolivar won their home leg 2-1 last night over Atlético Junior. They go to Colombia next week. Santos is probably through. Libertad's got a fight to get through. Bolivar, my guess is they're not going through unless they pull a big result in Colombia. Mataflo says Paraguay is very against the game happening in Paraguay. And Percy Herrera is trying to get everybody to pull for Universitario. The draw is 1 o'clock today. I know it's going to be on TIC if you have Fanatis. I'm not sure if BN will have English language coverage of it. They have the rights, so I think they can. I just don't know what's available. The group stage matches start on April 21st. Now, to get a sense of how important this tournament is, and this is why it's critical for somebody like Independiente del Valle, a smaller team in Ecuador that, look, they make their revenue on selling players, like Moises Caicedo, who will be playing for Ecuador's youth national team here later today. Just for participating in the preliminary phase, each team took $350,000. So Santos, San Lorenzo, all these teams, the teams got eliminated. You got $350,000 for phase 1. Phase 2, $500,000. Phase 3, which is what they're finishing now, $550,000. That's in addition. So for Santos, $350 plus 5 plus $550. Not bad. Group stage, you get $3 million. This is US dollars. Plus additional $1 million and some change if you get into the round of 16. From then on, you get $1.5 million more to go to the quarterfinals, $2 million more to go to the semis, $6 million more if you reach the final. The winner gets $15 million. That's a lot of cash. Then, if you win, you go into the Recopa the following year, which is the Super Cup in South America. That gets you either $1.25 million if you win it, $750,000 to the loser. You go to the Club World Cup, where you're going to get somewhere between $2 and $5 million if you win the Copa Libertadores. And then you're automatically in the group stage of the next Libertadores, which gets you that other $3 million. So it's big. If CONCACAF wants to grow the CONCACAF Champions League, these are the types of dollar figures that you need to get to. And where does it come from? It comes from sponsors. You know, I mean, it doesn't just, appear from CONMEBOL's money tree in their backyard. It comes from sponsors. It comes from broadcast rights. It comes from these things. But when you're talking about, I think CONCACAF Champions League, the winner is in the $2 million range. 15 mil plus all this other money that you get along the way. Whew. It is very important. It's Southampton U23s and Brighton U23s. Thank you, Monoflow. I'm all out of whack today. It was a late night last night. But the group stage of the Libertadores is a blast. If you haven't watched it, I highly, highly recommend it. I can't wait to see what the group of death will be. I can't wait to see what the matchups are going to look like. You've got a lot of heavyweights in this thing, but you've also got some new faces that are always exciting to see who can be the new upset special. But 1 o'clock today is when the group stage is, or the draw is for the group stage. All right. Big game this week, and you got a few of them, but the biggest one is in Spain. Real Madrid and Barcelona. Real Madrid missing their two center backs, still out. No Sergio Ramos, calf sprain. No Rafael Varane, coronavirus. Probably Nacho and Militao as the two center backs. That's what you saw against Liverpool. It worked pretty well. Danny Carvajal, not 100% with a hamstring issue. He hasn't been training with the team. It's very unlikely you see him. Lucas Vazquez probably playing as an outside back here. Eden Hazard maybe can come back off the bench. Maybe. Barcelona's got some too. Piqué hasn't played. He's had an issue with his right knee. He will probably be part of the traveling party. Probably not going to play. Probably not going to start. You don't want to bring him back too soon. Sergio Roberto, same thing. Probably not going to be ready. He hasn't played in 4 months. Pjanic and Araujo, both over their injuries. Both had ankle injuries. Maybe they play, maybe they don't, but it gives you some possibilities if you're Ronald Koeman. Let's go back to December 5th, where we thought pretty soon after that La Liga was done and dusted. It was Atleti's. Barcelona lost at Cadiz. They were 12 points behind the league leaders at that point. They'd only won 4 times in their first 10. Worst start to a season for Barcelona in 32 years. Ronald Koeman, everybody wants him out. Everybody's talking about bringing in Xavi. All the presidential election stuff is going on. They've won 16 of their last 19 in La Liga. They drew the other 3, so unbeaten in 19. They're 1 point behind Atleti. Atleti plays Real Betis this weekend, which will not be easy for them. You've got an injury issue with Luis Suarez. Real Madrid's in the title hunt too. They're 2 points further back. But this game in Spain is massive. Massive for what happens in La Liga. And Atleti has to be shaken in their boots here. Jarrett, who do you think wins La Liga?
And Jarrett dropped off.
He left. He didn't want to answer that question. John, who do you think wins La Liga?
I think it's Barca. I really do. I mean, you mentioned form over the last 19. I'll just add one for you. I mean, Barcelona in their last 20, they've won 16. Real Madrid has won 14 in their last 20. Atleti has won 13 in their last 20. They're 13 wins, 4 draws, 3 losses. So Barca has made up 8 points in the last 20 matches. Real Madrid's made up 3 in the last 20 matches. So, yeah, I'm one of the guys that thought, absolutely done and dusted. Atleti's up 10. They're rolling. And shocking no one, I was wrong. But no, I just think that with Barcelona's form in their last 2016 wins, I mean, only losing once in your last 20. And, I mean, I'll go back one more. I'll go back another group of 5. In their last 25 matches, Barcelona's won 18, and they've drawn 4 and lost 3. So over the last 25, it's the same with Atleti and Barca over the last 20 is where Barca has made their hay. I just think that Barcelona they're just rolling right now, and I'll go with Barcelona. I'll go ahead and say it. Barcelona wins it.
I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet. I think they get the win here. I just don't think Real Madrid can put together back-to-back performances like they did against Liverpool. That back line's a little scary. I'm not sure if they can pull that off. Chara, I don't know if Diego Simeone's going to be sacked over this because he's kind of got a lot of history there. I think he's going to get to call time when he wants to call time. I think it's time. I think he probably should have left after last season because I think his methods are outdated. I don't think he's updated with the times. I think he's too defensive, and I think we saw it this season where they were not defensive early in the season, and they were the best team in Spain and maybe the best team in Europe. And as things started to get a little more pressure-packed, he fell back on old habits, and he got more defensive. So it's got to be – I think if you're Atleti, you're going to look at this as a lost opportunity. I think Simeone needs a break. I think he's done everything he can do with Atleti. I don't think they're going to be able to spend with Real Madrid, with what Real Madrid's going to do. It looks like they're going to really go hard after Kylian Mbappe. And according to reports out of Spain, Mbappe is going to say no to a new contract in PSG. So all signs are pointing to a move to Spain. Barcelona will be back to being Barcelona here at some point. I think Simeone has taken Atleti as far as he can, and I don't think he's the guy to topple Real Madrid or Barcelona with the way he wants to play. So I don't think he gets fired because they're going to have too much respect for him with what he's done there.
Yeah.
But I think it might be a fairly strong suggestion that it's time to split. Now, I don't know what his contract is, and that can play into it. If he's going to be out of contract in a year, it might be easier to walk. I don't think he's out of contract at the end of this year, but he could be. Those things play into how it comes out. But I think he should leave. I just don't think he's going to be fired because I think they're going to have way too much respect for him to do that. We've got some MLS stuff that we'll get into as well. Mike Conti will be joining us at 10 o'clock. This is a big weekend, I think, for games around the world in this country because I kind of went through and picked some games and put them up on soccerdownhere.net where you can watch them. And you've got women's international friendlies on, big-time channels for you to watch with U.S. and Sweden on Saturday. You've got NWSL Challenge Cup tonight returning on CBS Sports Network. The rest of the games over the weekend will be on Paramount+. You've got Paramount Plus and Fanatis with the Copa de la Liga out of Argentina. You've got a massive game on Saturday night with Racing and Independiente. You've got big games from Mexico Saturday night as well on Univision and TUDN. And now it's looking like you're going to have a game on ABC from Serie A, Fiorentina and Atalanta on Sunday is going to be on ABC, which is a new one. So this is really getting interesting, and I think it's actually really interesting that they're putting it on ABC knowing that they're losing the rights to Serie A next year.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me. So this is a big deal. It's a big weekend with El Clasico, which is always huge. You've got Tottenham and Manchester United. And it's the last weekend before MLS jumps back into the mix with games on all the time. So if you're a soccer fan in this country, you've got a lot to be thankful for if you like to consume games from everywhere. I mean, you can start at 7:30, and this is just maybe the bigger stuff. You can start at 7:30 easily on Saturday and finish at midnight with the last game from Mexico. And you're going to have good stuff at the beginning and good stuff at the end and a lot of great things in between.
No, and this is the fun part where and you could sit there and pick your league, pick your channel, pick your network, pick your device. This is the fun part. And I think for ABC to have this Serie A appetizer leading into MLS, I think that it's a very cool thing for them. to be putting out there. I know that probably Fiorentina and Atalanta is probably time slot based as opposed to matchup based when it comes to the two teams that you're looking for. But the fact that you're still willing to put a Serie A match out there on big ABC as you're leading into things, you're not just stashing it on a Plus or on a ESPN numbered network or somewhere, but you're stashing it. You're putting it on big ABC. I think it's a statement for ABC across the board for what it means for their soccer coverage. And by the way, just checking on Simeone's salary quickly, looks like he is a gross annual salary of around 42 million euro. And as far back as January, they were thinking about extending his contract into 2024.
Well, they were thinking about it, and that was a while back.
Yes. And his contract ends January of this year. His contract ends June of 2022.
So it's next year. Unless he wants to walk, I think he's there for next season. I don't think they're going to force him out. Question from the Twitch pitch. Do you have a dedicated TV or computer or however you watch your Faroe Islands League?
If I knew how to dial up a VPN, it probably would end up being either on the laptop or the desktop here in Office HD.
Why am I not surprised that you don't know how to do that?
This is, I mean, that's the biggest thing here. I mean, for me, it's the extent of it is Fanatis and cable and, whatever else is out there.
You haven't figured out how to get Fanatis or ESPN Plus or any of those like actually on your television?
Apparently, my TVs are out of date, and they don't because I tried.
TVs are out of date.
They're older TVs because I tried to sit there and dial up Fanatis as an app, and it's not working directly onto the television. Look, I had to get new cable boxes to get Paramount Plus in the house, and I still can't get it on the one here in Office HD. The other two televisions here in the house apparently have cable boxes that work. I had to reorder. I have an older cable box down here in Office HD. And so when I do Paramount Plus, for those watching on the Twitch pitch, the cable box down here in the office looks at me funny and says, no, you need a new cable box, which would have been the third cable box that I would have ordered to try to trigger Paramount Plus here in Office HD, while the other two TVs, if I wanted to watch in the den or upstairs in the bedroom, I could watch Paramount Plus fine. But apparently, for some reason, the cable box here in Office HD says, enjoy more content and features with your new equipment. I already have new equipment. You're not giving it to me.
Does anyone know what's going on here?
I don't.
No, Bruce, I don't, and I wish I did.
I don't understand any of that. Wow. Just buy a Roku. Get a Fire Stick. Can we get this man a Fire Stick?
That's what I'm debating. I'm debating getting a Fire Stick and having it down here in Office HD.
You have gamey televisions, John.
I do have I have a gamey large television. The other two TVs, which are more of, desktop size, they're far easier to navigate.
And John,
so I guess they want me to watch Paramount Plus in the den as opposed to down here in the office.
John, you can get a Roku, according to Bartimus Prime, for less than $30.
Cool.
4-card, you're just going to have to go back and watch. John had a massive freak out about not being able to get apps on his television. It was epic. Man, I got nothing for that, John. I have nothing. Nick Alifi nails it, though. This is the problem. You keep calling it Office HD. No, it's Office SD, John.
Big TV is in HD.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Thank you, Stephen A.
It's not very HD if you can't actually make it work, John. Just saying. Fender,
it's HD on its own. I just can't make it work.
Fender is an IT guy, and he is fighting the desire to go make all of this work for you because he's getting very triggered, I think. Which I can't blame him. I am too. I'm blown away. The computer is the strongest thing in the room, Dr. D. That is accurate. But Nick Alifi and Alex Basine totally on the same page. Your office is in 4-3, and we're all in 16-9.
That is true. I will grant you that.
Yeah.
That one is,
Your office is the old school TV that like had the big wooden paneling on it and had the giant dials that you would turn.
Yeah,
And when
Magnavox.
when you couldn't get no, it wasn't just Magnavox, but when you couldn't get the channel to completely work, you'd like not wad up, you'd like fold up a couple pieces of paper and stick it in between the dial and the TV, and that would somehow magically fix it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's your office, John.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
stipulate to that.
I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Go ahead and say it.
Byrne says, I'm saying this with empathy, not sarcasm, but this is a good example of why they shouldn't do vaccine appointments mostly over the internet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Byrne, you're not wrong.
Oh, Byrne, that's the line of the day.
That's a t-shirt.
J-Dub, I am convinced that John has a VHS tape to record games on.
Actually, we do have both VHS and DVD players in the den.
I really thought you were about to say we have both VHS and Betamax. I really thought you were going to say Betamax, and I would have lost it. I would have left. I would have just walked away.
It's like filibustering for 7 minutes before Mike shows up.
Mike wouldn't have shown up because I would have been gone. I would have just started walking down the street in shame. That's what would have happened if you had said you had Betamax. Oh, man. Okay. Other things on the board for today. Speaking of things that have been a little crazy, Maurizio Sarri. According to reports with Football Italia, he has rejected an offer from Fiorentina, and it is down to Napoli and Roma, who could get Maurizio Sarri and Sarriball coming back into Serie A next year. He's under contract with Juve through next season, and he won a league title, and they said leave, and they're not going to win a league title this year, and they're still paying him money, €2.5 million. He's talked to all three of those clubs, Fiorentina, Napoli, Roma. It is understood by Football Italia he has rejected Fiorentina, and the other two are still in the race. He is determined to return to coaching. He didn't want to join a team mid-season. He rejected any offer that came up to join a team mid-season. He wants a full preseason. I don't know. My gut is Roma, and Nick Alifi will probably chime in on this. I just don't know if the way things ended for him at Napoli can be overcome.
Right.
I think Roma is probably the easiest place for him to end up. And I hope he gets an opportunity to stick around for a while. I really want to see what he can do over an extended period of time. His Napoli teams were a lot of fun to watch. I think he would have been great for Chelsea if they had been able to stick with it. He would have been great for Juventus. But they didn't want to do that because people didn't like some of the things he wanted to do. And Andrea Pirlo is now having to deal with some of those players who didn't want to follow what the coach wanted. And he's stuck with them. What do you keep turning to watch, John? What are you watching over there?
I'm trying to get my TV to function normally.
Oh, no. Did you break the TV again?
I think I did.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Apparently not.
Oh, man. He's watching Mr. Ed. That's right, Nick. In Bayern, when we talk about managers, there's a couple different things here that maybe make it look like Karl-Heinz Rummenigge might not have been telling the whole story when he said that, yes, Hansi Flick will be back next year. No question. He'll be back. Jan Fortoft, who is a reporter, journalist, broadcaster, former player, said, all signs from Munich tell me that Hansi Flick will be the next German national team coach. I've been wrong a couple times in my life, but I don't think I will be wrong here. Bayern have got to find a new coach. Interesting. Raphael Honigstein tweeted this morning, Hansi Flick repeatedly refused to say whether he'll stay beyond the summer, also said that the squad had better quality last season. Looks increasingly like he'll be off soon. Not a fan of the sporting director. That doesn't appear to have gotten any better. You do have a big opening with the German national team. He has worked for that organization in the past. They would love to have him. It is starting to look a little bit like Bayern will be in the head coaching sweepstakes for next season. That's a pretty good spot. I'd like to go there.
Oh, yes. I'm saying there's going to be a lot of folks sending their CVs to that front office.
Yes. Also, Percy Herrera is telling you that Target is having a great sale on TVs right now, John.
Well, I don't need the TV. I just need something to help with the actual navigation.
I thought your TV was old.
Well, the one down here, yeah. Okay.
Yes, yeah, the one that you're trying to watch and make work, and
the one I'm trying to watch and make work, yeah.
Miserably. Johannes is pulling the "I told you so." I tried to tell you all. Flick is perfect for Germany. Let's see if he gets done. Let's see. Well, let's wait and see here. One other club that we've been a little hard on at times, Borussia Dortmund, who are still in this with Manchester City. It's not done yet. 7,620 is the magic number. That's how many minutes they have given of playing time to under 21 players in the league so far. More than any other team in the top 5 European leagues. That's why they can sell some people and try to make the books get balanced. That's why it can work. So Borussia Dortmund is the leader in Europe in playing young players. They're going to be okay, but they are going to have to sell. Yep. And Erling Haaland is the one that they're probably going to have to sell. AS had a report that the sporting director, Michael Zorc, at Dortmund is still playing his game. There's no deadline. The speculation growing isn't going to force Dortmund into a deadline on Haaland. He talked about how, Mino Raiola and Papa Haaland went sunbathing in Spain. He doesn't care. It's all good. Nothing's changed. Same old, but it's going to continue to ramp up. I mentioned Mbappe earlier. The reports are coming from Cuatro and Ser in Spain, that Cadena Ser, that Mbappe told the club, told PSG he intends to leave. He's not going to sign a new contract. He's out of contract at the end of next season. Of course, Real Madrid is the one who has been the most interested. Mbappe has a lot of interest as well, but with Real Madrid launching their newly renovated stadium in late 22 or early 23, and just big, huge, ambitious plans, they want Kylian Mbappe to be the front of the banner, outside the stadium, outside of everything.
Yep.
And they're going to spend whatever it takes to get it. This is coming from Spanish broadcasters that he has said no. Keep that in mind. Real Madrid, last time I checked, plays in La Liga in Spain.
Yes.
But yes, Kylian Mbappe might not be at PSG after the season, and Real Madrid might have to throw a lot of cash at PSG to get that deal done, and PSG will gladly take it and then spend a lot of cash on somebody else, which will get very, very interesting with the moving parts. All right, it's that time. It's 10 o'clock. I'm waiting to see if you're going to stretch and make sure you're good to go for this thing.
No, I think I broke my cable box.
You're not going to stretch because you broke your cable box. Well,
yes.
I'm glad this is going to really make for a great read with our good friend, Steve Apolinski.
Apolinski & Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, only one place you need to go, and it is Apolinski & Associates, LLC. 3 different ways you can communicate with said firm. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve at aa-legal.com. You can pick up the phone, get a free consultation that way, 404-377-9191, or go on the World Wide Web, large device or small, type in aa-legal.com. In the address bar, hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances you to the homepage for Apolinski & Associates, LLC. And there is a virtual bevy of information about the firm and about all the cases that they can handle for you. If you're a client in the Eastern or the Central Time Zone in Georgia or Alabama, over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in said states. And if by looking on the homepage for Apolinski & Associates, LLC, you still have questions, a pop-up window pops up, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter, and perhaps you can get your questions answered that way. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, only one place to go. It's Apolinski & Associates, LLC, and the website is aa-legal.com. Bring on Mike.
I think we've talked about this. When you add other elements that have nothing to do with the read at the end, your score usually suffers.
Okay.
Like, we were going to bring on Mike. That was going to happen. But the music was still going. So,
So you want me to wait and do the the .com pause until the music ends and then say bring on Mike?
No, I don't want you to say bring on Mike. I thought that was kind of obvious.
I'm encouraging content.
Mateo doesn't need you on his back.
I'm not encouraged. That is not discouragement or anything of the sort.
Mateo's got it handled, man. Well, he's trying to get it handled anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe on Mike's end, Mike's Mateo isn't handling things. I don't know.
Yeah, we need to figure out who Mike's Mateo is.
I don't know if he's got a Mateo. I'm not sure. We will see if Mike emerges here shortly. We do have some scores on your read while we get into that as we wait for Mike. Let's see what we got here. What if you have a pop-up blocker, Dr. D asks? That's a very good question.
It is a good question.
8 out of 10, +1 for the bevy. Too early for bevies, -2. No gap, +2. Kefsey, what did John do? He NSAID states what needs anti-inflammatories, -3. Okay, he got a 7. Kefsey gave you a 7. I'm gonna need an explanation because I got confused there. Right. We got Mike now. What's up, Mike?
Sorry, guys, I'm out running errands today.
No,
so,
it's all good.
The car wouldn't let me connect to you.
Boo!
It's okay. We were just catching up on the scores for John's read. John broke his cable box, by the way, Mike, during the show.
That, John?
Vocal commands.
Vocal command.
Yeah.
Yeah. He muted me and gave his cable box a vocal command, and he killed it.
You must have given it one really, really confusing command, John.
That would not be a surprise, at least coming to this household.
Alexa, turn on the oven and turn off the stove.
Basically, yes.
What?
Yeah, that's what we're getting into here. It's like, change the channel to X, and it's looking at me with the selection screen going, okay, you need to type in your answer. And I'm like, dude, I just spoke it to you.
Madness.
No results were found.
That's where we're at this morning, Mike. This is where we are. It's not good. We're breaking cable boxes live on the show.
By the way, how was it up in Dalton last night? I know we've got a ton of Atlanta United fans up there, an absolute ton. How was it?
Very cool. There's a lot of Atlanta United fans who partake in Dalton Brewing Company's wares, and they watch games there, and they're excited to get watch parties going again. It's been a big part. Actually, some friends I know have driven up there for watch parties, so it's a good scene. And I mean, you've got a huge soccer community that was there already, but it's really started to grow and bloom with Atlanta, with what's going on with the Chattanooga teams. So much happening. It's very, very cool. The high school game up there is massive.
Oh, yeah.
You got some great high school programs up there. So it was exciting. It was fun to be up there and talk soccer with the folks.
Good deal. I love it up there. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
We might have to get a stoppage time live on the road, maybe up in Dalton.
Yeah, I'm game for that. If we can find, it would probably have to be after the Hawk season.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we can pick a time to do that, I would love that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I really, really always enjoy going up there.
We can make some things happen. We can get creative this year. One team that got creative, and this kind of feeds into something you've been saying as we've talked about who to watch in the Eastern Conference. It's preseason. We've talked about it here. You can't read everything into preseason. We all know this. But our friends down in South Georgia, Tormenta, defeated Club de Foot Montreal in a preseason friendly yesterday. You've been down on Montreal. You might be right.
Yeah. Well, I
know.
don't know because
I know.
I want to be really, really careful. I mean, I remember in 2018, we went up to Nashville, a team that was just getting started in USL, not even USL Championship at that time, just USL, who may not have even been in full fitness. And they played Atlanta United's first choice 11 to a stalemate. A lot of it had to do with conditions, but it's preseason. Last year, Atlanta United needed a very, very late winner from Mateus Rossetto to beat Birmingham Legion. I would say that's not a very encouraging result for Club de Foot Montreal, but not one that I would mash the panic button over either, unless they had some kind of major injury to a key player, which I don't think they did, as far as I know. But that's good for Tormenta. I get it, and it sounds like, Jason and John, that when Tormenta came up here to the training ground a couple weeks ago to play Atlanta United, it sounds like Atlanta United really didn't break them down until pretty late in that scrimmage / friendly.
All right, Mike, hold on just a second. Pat Brennan of the Cincinnati Enquirer is tweeting, sources tell Pat that FC Cincinnati has traded Frankie Amaya to the New York Red Bulls. Deal is done. More details to come.
Of course, Frankie Amaya would go to the Red Bulls.
He's a good fit for them.
Let's add another player that's done something against Atlanta United.
Yeah, he's a good fit for the Red Bulls.
Tom Barlow, say hi to Frankie Amaya. Hey, Mark Shakowski, say hi to Frankie Amaya.
I don't think Shakowski's there anymore. I think he's gone.
Oh, okay. Well, good. That's one left. Well, they have to replace someone who's killed Atlanta United with one other. Yeah.
There you go.
Interesting for Cincinnati. I wonder why.
He's been wanting out. He's demanded a trade.
He's been squawking.
And
okay.
He's demanded the trade. They kind of were holding off on doing it. I think he got frustrated as they kept adding new people. So he reinforced his demand for a trade. They finally made the trade. And I want to see what they get. Because
probably my guess is
Garber
I'm
bucks.
going to guess 200 in allocation.
Oh, no. If it was 200 in allocation, I would go make up some counterfeit Garber bucks and give them to Carlos Bocanegra to go get him and bring him to Atlanta.
You think it's higher?
It's got to be. If it's that, he should have went to another club that should have bid more. I think it'll be, if it is purely Garber bucks, if there's no draft picks or international slots or anything else factored in, my number starts at $750
for Frankie Amaya.
Yep, I'd pay it.
All right, we'll see.
Amaya's outstanding.
Our numbers are probably going to be in the middle. It'll probably be about 5.
There'll probably be some other things added to it, which will be the tricky element. There'll probably be some draft picks and such.
Well, and it could also be like 200 this year, 400 next year.
Yeah.
Draft pick, an international slot.
Structured and staggered,
You know, the discovery rights to
Franz Beckenbauer.
Right. Some German player.
Franz
Cincinnati with the German community there. I always kind of wondered why Cincinnati, Jason and I have talked about this before. I've always kind of wondered why Cincinnati, with their strong German community there, did not make an effort to try to bring in a couple players with German lineage. I would have thought that'd be very, very popular with their fan base. So when you say Beckenbauer, you might be serious. You might be on to something.
Hey, I thought that they would be a player for Julian Gressel when that came up that he was going to get traded. I thought he would have been a perfect get for them, and that actually leads us into something. Another team that I think you're higher than me on in DC United and what they could look like this year. Their manager, Hernan Losada's been making the rounds. He was on Sirius XMFC this week. A little irritated that some of the national experts, and I'm assuming he's talking about MLSsoccer.com because they just did their previews, and I think the highest anybody had them was 9th in the Eastern Conference, which feels way too high for me. He wasn't happy about that. But he's also talked about his team, and he said a couple of things about conditioning and fitness. And this is a very common thing for the Bielsa school of thought. And if you've seen the Leeds United series on Amazon Prime, the players talked about how intense like the weigh-ins were. I mean, it's weigh-ins. I would assume Gabriel Heinze, same thing. That was one of the reports about his time at Vélez, was a significant thing. Losada said, when asked about what's missing right now, he said fitness. Fitness to be ready to play the way we want for 90 minutes. I think at this point, we can only play the way we want for 60, 65, 70 minutes, not more than that. He said, I didn't expect to have the team so unfit. Now, Julian Gressel on his Z Soccer podcast said, basically what our coach said was that everybody needed to lose a little bit of body fat at least, some guys more than others. 2-3 times a week, we have to weigh in the mornings. certain guys get certain goals set. If you're over a certain weight or come in over a certain weight, then you get a fine, or you have to spin the wheel, which is a disciplinary system, a kind of
wheel
fun,
of punishment.
A wheel of punishment. He said, so it's been pretty strict here. And Gressel said he clocked in at 8% body fat when measured via the calipers at the end of the 2020 season. Now, they're using some, I guess, more expensive system, a DEXA process to get to body fat. And at the start of preseason, he was 8% at the end of the season in 2020. He was at 14%. This is Gressel talking about it on his podcast. He was at 14% when he checked in for preseason. He said he's lost 7 to 10 pounds from where he was in the fall right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this sounds like the weight loss program at Camp Krusty. I mean, it just sounds absolutely awful.
El Mataflo said, I'd be cut if I played for DC.
Oh, my God. It sounds like, no one's going to be able to get their lunchtime gruel until Martin Prince can do a chin-up.
Yep.
This is, oh, wow. Now, look, I am not surprised that Losada is going to be demanding of his team from a fitness and conditioning standpoint. Because DC, if they're able to fully implement these Losada principles, which, again, are very Bielsa-ish, they're going to have to be the best conditioned team in the league. Mm-hmm. So I do understand. Mm-hmm. But I also think you need to be, I think, a little bit compassionate with your professional athletes who are playing for you, knowing that these are professional athletes who aren't going to put anything stupid in their bodies.
Bread, water, and nutritional supplements only for you.
Man, I mean, that's just sad. And like, you're talking about Julian Gressel losing 7 to 10 pounds. Like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know Julian that well, but the times have been around him. I never really looked at him and thought, yeah, wow, Julian, you gotta lose 5 to 10 pounds there. Like, no, I've never thought that.
Now, I don't know what happened in the offseason. Maybe Julian.
Well, things do happen.
It does.
Things absolutely do happen. But, I mean, that just sounds, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, if you have a group that's fully committed to that principle, to that idea of the way that Losada wants to play, then this might not be a big deal. But that just sounds absolutely brutal and could very quickly turn off your playing group from the technical staff. It could create a real wedge between the training group and the playing group and the technical staff. So that'll be really, really interesting to monitor.
It's one thing when Marcelo Bielsa does it with a proven track record of success and an understanding of his quality. If you're Hernan Losada, I think it's harder to sell it. We'll see. If the team looks like they're not playing hard for him, you're going to have some reasons to point back at. One more update on Amaya. Tom Bogert from MLSsoccer.com just tweeted, nothing specific on the fee just yet. Being told it's, quote, significant.
Well, then it's not 200.
750 is my number. I think we're in that ballpark.
But I think, Mike, to your point, I think it's going to get staggered. I don't think it's going to be one chunk. It'll be a couple of years of.
It's not like Red Bull's spending much money. I mean, they're probably sitting on a lot of Garber bucks these days.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, look, it's a good pickup for Red Bulls. And if you're Amaya who wanted to be traded, way, way worse places to be traded than Red Bulls.
Could have been traded to DC.
Right. Yeah. And, immediately put on Dexatrim or whatever you would have to do to, I mean, God, that's, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm overthinking this as a fat guy, but that sounds like no fun at all. Uh-uh. But again, I do think DC is going to be probably one of the more interesting lower table
100%.
Teams in the East to watch this year, just because they're going to be so fundamentally different. And I do think they have a couple really nice players. And they got some young players too. Some really, really good young players who might be maybe a little more amenable to doing these types of things. Like Chris Aduiatsim, who I think is a really, really good young player. who probably also doesn't need to lose too much weight. He might be a little more open to this than, someone who's been around a long time and probably feels like he is in better shape than maybe what the technical staff believes. So we'll just have to see.
All right, Mike, we're through the first legs across the board in ConcaChampions. MLS, MLS acquitted themselves very well.
Great job, MLS. Really, really great job. Toronto, I thought that was a great draw for them down at Lyon, coming from behind to save the draw. Philadelphia looked like they fully controlled Saprissa. We talked a little bit on stoppage time about Portland. No major complaints about their result. They've put themselves in excellent position with 2 road goals, even though they didn't win. We've obviously talked at great length about Atlanta. Columbus, awesome. Dominant last night. Wow, they look scary. They looked really, really, really good last night. So really, really positive signs for MLS. It seems likely we're going to get our first MLS on MLS quarterfinal since we left the group stage era of the Champions League in 2016-17. Because I don't see Philadelphia or Atlanta doing anything to imperil their chances at home next Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively. So I think it's a really, really good sign for the league. I think it's, I don't know what more we can really take out of it than just they played well against teams that all but Toronto were favored against. The one that really stands out to me is Toronto, guys. Just because.
Be careful, Mike. Be careful. I've found out, and this is something I didn't know until really this week. There is a large segment of I'm thinking the whole Atlanta United fan base. I definitely know there is a segment, a very vocal segment of the Soccer Down Here universe that absolutely hates Toronto. Hates Toronto. Well, I didn't know that.
I don't enjoy playing Toronto. I don't enjoy losing to Toronto. But can we all acknowledge that a team that's holding its training camp 1,500 miles from home and will have to play the season 1,500 miles from home under a new coach that probably is going to be a polar opposite tactically from Greg Vanney, and a team that's getting a little bit long in the tooth? Can we all just at least acknowledge that pulling a draw down at Lyon under those circumstances is a pretty solid result?
No, people can't do that.
Yeah. Well. Furthermore, why wouldn't we want to see MLS do well in Champions League?
Because they hate Toronto. There's
I think it's everybody else.
There's nothing rational.
Everybody else to succeed, they just hate Toronto.
I'll give you a sample of this, Mike. So it comes up. 4-card. Hate. DK. I hate Toronto. Ropes. Haterade. Coco on our Discord says, as the VP of the Hater Club, say my name. Call me out. Let the hate rain. Screw Toronto for all the reasons people give. Josie, Bradley's 10 out of 10, very punchable face. Armas as a loser of a coach. And the audacity they had to take the shield from us. There is a lot of hatred.
Well, look, I understand.
To show you, Mike, how bad this is, Shiva said, I hate Toronto.
Wow.
Shiva.
That bad, huh?
Shiva.
That bad. I understand. But again, this is college football bowl season, folks. I mean, if Georgia has won the Sugar Bowl and Alabama is in the playoff, don't you want to see Alabama kind of do well to uphold the reputation of the SEC? I know, and some people don't feel that way. I do. I think, again, you want to see the stature of MLS raised to its highest level.
The chat is hilarious, Mike.
Yeah.
Like
this doesn't off in the chat.
This doesn't happen with Orlando. This doesn't happen with Red Bulls. This doesn't happen with anybody. I did not know Toronto got this.
I mean, dude, Auburn folks never root for Alabama. This is what we're getting to.
No,
I can't do that.
I didn't think it was at that level, guys. I'm really surprised.
I was blown away.
I'm really surprised. I mean, look, I know Bradley and Altidore are polarizing. Absolutely.
Bit,
I know Chris Armas is polarizing. Absolutely.
More so than I thought he was, but yes.
Yeah, the whole taking the shield thing, that still kind of worked out okay, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't take my brain pills today, but I do think in 2018, Toronto missed the playoff and Atlanta United had a parade, if I remember correctly.
I do.
And I further remember that Atlanta United made a lot of self-inflicted mistakes in that match to cost itself the Supporters' Shield. Yeah, Armas, I mean, he had Atlanta United's number, no doubt about it. But again, guys, we're talking about intracontinental competition here. This is not. We aren't talking about Toronto against Atlanta. We're talking about a team from Liga MX.
They don't care.
I want to see. Well, okay.
I know.
I respectfully disagree with the Twitch pitch. I think anytime you get an MLS club going into a road venue in Mexico where I think they had fans, am I right?
30%. Yeah, 30%.
Yeah, they had fans and get a result. Look, that's great for the league. We should be happy about that. We should be happy about that. I'm not going to root for Toronto against Portland or against, I don't know, I'm thinking of other fan bases that I really enjoy interacting with.
Could you root for Ohio State in a bowl game for conference pride?
Honestly, yes.
Wow.
I know I'm different.
Wow.
I know I'm different, guys.
Wow.
Honestly. And you know why? Okay. I'm going to give you an example. This is the simile, okay? I'm sure in Mexico, and we've been down there before. We've been to Monterrey. We've been to Mexico City during these competitions. We see the little snickering and under-the-breath comments about MLS.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Liga MX is so superior, all right? I went to a Big Ten school. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, the epicenter of Southern college football, the epicenter of the SEC. All I hear is how inferior the Big Ten is to the SEC and in some cases the ACC. So, yeah.
Wait a minute, who says that? Who's drunk enough to say that?
Clemson fans.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, they're definitely drunk enough to say that.
Might have a point. I don't know if Louisville or Boston College fans.
The conference maybe not, but yes, Clemson fans could be drunk enough to say that. That's true.
Yeah. So and honestly, people who cover the I mean, the ACC had 2 playoff teams this past year. But anyhow, my point is this. I hate Ohio State. Hate them with the fire of 1,000 suns. But if Ohio State can win a playoff game against an SEC school as they did in 2014 and finally prove my point that, the Big Ten really isn't that bad, and maybe I have a little chip on my shoulder that way, I think that's a good thing. It doesn't mean I'm going to root for Ohio State when they open the following season against like Army or Ball State or whoever they're playing. But in a meaningful situation where the reputation of your conference or your league is on the line, I'm going to support the league.
I got attacked. I got attacked during the Toronto Leon game, and I wasn't even I wasn't even supporting Toronto. It was just, this is a really impressive result. This is an really impressive thing that they did.
And all hell rained down on Jason.
I am so surprised. I am so surprised. Like, I would think, with Orlando, like, honestly,
I know
we've talked about this before, and we've always kind of assessed that Orlando, like it or not, everyone kind of doesn't like to acknowledge this, but I think it's deep down very true, that when it comes to the way that Atlanta United's players and fans feel, Orlando is Atlanta United's biggest rival.
Yes.
Like it or not, there is a vibe to that match that doesn't exist when you play Chicago or, DC. Although I think DC, there's a vibe to that one too. But I've always thought that it's Orlando, it's Red Bulls, And it's New York City, which I think is the one, because Atlanta United and New York City have played some really, really good matches against each other that have been intense. And I think that's a good, intense, respectful rivalry.
I don't have the same feeling with those
What's
two.
that?
I don't have the same feeling with NYC. The two that border on animosity for me, LAFC, and I think it's just because of the comparisons between the two.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a ton of history there. And this one's probably more personal for me, but Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, no.
I despise
Absolutely.
Seattle. That's the one that I'm like,
I've never thought of Toronto. Like, this is so eye-opening to me.
I know.
I've never thought of Toronto as being really, really high on that list. I mean, it might be upper half, but I had never thought that our fans would despise Toronto more than even DC or Miami. Or Nashville.
Miami will be on this list pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, Miami's on the list right now.
Yeah.
Miami's
probably growing too.
Yeah, I think Nashville, it's more of a respectful rivalry, and last year was kind of weird. Miami's on the list right now.
I think so.
Right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Fort Lauderdale, people are saying.
Nicholas Vidal, you're on my list. You know, Blaise Matuidi, however you got onto that team, you're on my list.
Oh, hold on, Mike. We got to give a shout-out to somebody who's hanging out in the Twitch pitch with us today. Jimmy Vance hanging out.
Hey, Jimmy. See, Jimmy's one of those ACC fans who I think belittles the Big Ten a little too much. He must know that we were talking about
Now you're choosing violence.
Fan?
No, Jimmy went to Georgia. He's a Georgia guy. But is he a...
Oh, I thought Jimmy was a Florida State fan.
Doesn't he have split allegiances, possibly? Jimmy, explain yourself. I think he might.
Yeah, Snowman, let us know where your thoughts are.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I hope you're doing okay. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well, and hopefully we'll see you out there on the 24th. It'd be good to see you in person. And by the way, like, I know so many people who are so fired up for 2 weeks from Saturday.
Yep.
A lot of people have been asking me about tickets. A lot of people have been asking me how they can get in, if I can help them in any way. There is a lot of energy and excitement for this home opener. And I think a lot of it really started Tuesday night, to be totally honest with you. So that atmosphere 2 weeks from Saturday, I know it's only going to be 50%, but it's going to feel like way more than that, I believe.
Jimmy's parents went to FSU. He went to Georgia, so that's what it was.
And when you grow up in an FSU household, that's going to happen.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder there.
Totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, though, like
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah.
I never in a million years would have guessed the animosity would be that deep.
Yeah.
And again, I have to respectfully disagree. I just feel like if you're in an MLS, if Orlando were playing America, I would root for Orlando. I know that sounds just awful to think about, but I would root for Orlando because you're trying to uphold the reputation of your league. A league that I think is so much better than people give it credit for internationally and, sadly, domestically.
People are getting really angry, Mike.
Yeah, they're talking about a tailgate of hate, man. This is where they are.
It's okay. Look, I get it. And unfortunately, I have kind of a hard out here coming up. So I don't want to, drop the mic and leave or anything.
Oh, come on.
No one is wrong for feeling the way they feel, in my opinion. My personal preference, again, is I get more upset when I see people trashing the quality of MLS domestically and internationally. And if Toronto can do something to change that narrative, then I support Toronto.
I think for me, I'm not pulling for Toronto. I'm not pulling against them. I'm watching, and okay, that's a good result. That's good. That's good for the league. That's as far as I can go.
Let me be very clear on this. Sorry, Twitch pitch. If you're playing a team from Mexico, I'm pulling for Toronto.
Oh man, this is the Twitch pitch exploded. That is hilarious.
I mean, it's the fact that even Shiva is on
Shiva
this
hates
really
Toronto.
Actually makes me second guess the way I feel about
Abby
this,
was talking trash. I mean, everybody.
Abby,
yes,
like two of the kindest people I've ever met.
Abby
Shiva
hates
and
Orlando.
Abby?
Yeah, Abby's not quite as strong on Toronto, I don't think, but hates Orlando with the fire of 1,000 suns.
I hate Orlando too, but if they're playing Rayados, I'm rooting for Orlando.
This is good stuff. I can't wait for the season to start. We're
Me
just
too.
over a week away from Atlanta United in season. We do have Tuesday with Ala Walenze. Can you join us on Tuesday and do another
Yes,
pregame
of
SDH?
course, absolutely. And I've started to work on that Orlando game a little bit.
Excellent.
And I got to tell you, I don't want to get overly confident, but what I saw yesterday in my initial work on Orlando, I'm feeling really good about next Saturday too. I'm really, really optimistic right now. Orlando's good, but I'm feeling really optimistic.
Okay. I'm intrigued. You cooking anything good this weekend?
I'm cooking up a whole lot of Hawks games. So, no. In fact, I'm sitting in my car right now in the midst of errands. I'm looking at a Oberto teriyaki beef jerky. It's kind of a struggle day meal-wise for me.
That is a little bit of a struggle day.
I'll have something good before the game next week.
Okay, there we go. We'll come up with a good one. The food channel on our Discord anxiously awaits your posts every week.
The Twitch pitch. Do we not remember Toronto? Was it Toronto or Montreal?
You're not rescuing this one.
Oh, what was it? Toronto or Montreal that had us singing "Oh Canada" during the full-time report?
It was Toronto, and somebody said
That's
it
what
was
I thought.
one of the greatest moments ever on an Atlanta United broadcast.
We love them forever and ever.
Not anymore. Not anymore. I've
Forever
learned.
and ever on that day.
No. But real quick.
Yes.
I'm going to point to that moment. The Mexican commentator. What was it? 2009 or was it 13?
It was 13.
Was it not? 13. It was 13 when Klinsmann played his second choice down in Panama, and his second choice group got 2 late goals that put Mexico in the reclassification against New Zealand. And you had the commentators in Mexico singing "God Bless America." It's okay to sometimes appreciate what your nemesis does. I would never root for El Tri, but I would certainly appreciate it if El Tri could do something like that to maybe help the United States get into a World Cup. So that's all I'm trying to say. It's okay sometimes for your nemesis to do something good.
I hear you. I make no guarantees that anybody else is hearing you.
Fingers in each ear, Mike.
I can tell with the tone of your voice how awkward this is for you because you're trying to walk that tightrope.
Red cards are out all over the place in the Twitch feed.
All right, guys. Talk to you on Tuesday.
Thanks, Mike.
See ya.
Wow, the Toronto hate is insane. If you do not know what Mike was referencing with the commentator from Mexico, if you haven't heard it, I could play this every show because it's one of my favorite things ever. This was from Mexican television when the games were simultaneous last day of the Hex in 2013. U.S. had already qualified. They came back to beat Panama, which knocked Panama out. Mexico didn't win. They went through like 5 coaches, it felt like, in the qualification phase. And because of the U.S. winning, it put Mexico into the playoff where they beat New Zealand to end up going to the 2014 World Cup. But there was a lot of hatred towards the Mexican national team at this point. This is what it sounded like.
It's pure, unmitigated heartbreak.
Wait a minute, that's Ray Hudson. That's not it.
That's Ray Hudson.
Oh, this is the ESPN clip of all of it.
In a big flaming theater.
The United States was to help their arch rival Mexico.
Here we go.
Here's the reaction in Mexico City.
Atención con el centro, Estados Unidos. Gol de Estados Unidos. We love you forever and ever. God bless America, doctor. Estados Unidos nos vete a la reclasificación.
I'll find the full clip another time where he sounds very happy right there, and then like it's immediately snapping into being angry at Mexico not doing it themselves, and he's telling Vucetich to put on his pants and resign, and the players didn't play for the shirt, and like all this madness. It's amazing. It's like a 2 or 3 minute clip because the U.S. scores, he reacts to the U.S. goal. Then he gets angry at Mexico. Then the U.S. scores again to completely seal it. This is all in stoppage time. Then he gets even angrier at Mexico about you couldn't do it yourselves. They did it for you, not you, them. And he was just on fire. It was amazing. We'll play that full clip another time. But
Awesome.
it's good stuff. Okay. We'll take questions if the Twitch pitch is calmed down. I'm kind of afraid to do that, but fine. We'll take questions from those of you watching on Twitch. Do we have anything on Twitter that we need to clean up?
Oh, yeah. Now, we have some stuff from Freestyle Friday.
What do we have on a Freestyle Friday, John?
Daniel Price started out very early this morning wanting to know, and this was to the community, best World Cup song, go. His was Waving Flag.
Okay, he was right. Because there's one answer, and it's Waving Flag. That's it. We had this conversation. I told Kelly when we were live at Red Hair. I told her, it's Waving Flag. And if you answer with something else, you are wrong. Bartimus Prime, you are wrong. You are wrong, Bart. You are 100% wrong. Waka Waka is not it.
Waka Waka.
Shiva's wrong, too. Wrong. 100% wrong. The only correct answer is Waving Flag. That is it. Everything else is wrong. Second would be the Cup of Life, Ricky Martin, 1998. Third might be the 1990 song, which is Grown on Me. It was like they did a bunch of different versions of it. I think they did an Italian version, a Spanish version, an English version. Ton of different versions from it. What else? Gloryland is, I know Mike loves Gloryland. The Cup of Life, Abby, is the Ricky Martin song. Even the Pitbull and J-Lo song from 14 was fine. The 2018 one, I think it was Nicky Jam and Will Smith. Not so good. The 1962 song Ropes, that was a pretty good rip-off of Elvis Presley.
It's a great rip-off of Elvis Presley, but I like that.
A Chilean rock band. 2018 was kind of, I don't know. Bart with a good question, rebounding from a bad take, Bart, about Waka Waka. Okay, but who does the 2026 World Cup song? So you
Diplo
need
and Pete Wentz.
No, we haven't even gotten into that yet, John. You got to save your homework for a minute. You need to do it correctly. You need a Canadian, you need an American, and you need a Mexican, because it's all three hosting it.
Okay.
So I think you throw Justin Bieber, Billie Eilish. Oh, and I don't know who you're going to pull from Mexico. You're going to have to help me out on that one, because I don't want to get somebody who's not from Mexico from a reggaeton perspective or something in there. I don't know why I thought Billie Eilish and Justin Bieber, but just throw them into the room and let them figure it out.
There you go. Y'all sort it out.
Y'all sort it out. See what happens. A hologram of Selena. Yes, Modiflow. That would be better than anything else that we could come up with. That is 100% correct. Bart's going with Bieber, J-Lo, and Camila Cabello. I'm okay with that. Becky G and DaBaby. I'm okay with this. Abby is discovering the Copa de la Vida Ricky Martin song. It's excellent. Gypsy King's the backing band. Okay, I can work with this, J-Dub. You got to have representation from all three countries. That's the only thing I vote for. Celine Dion. Can we get Celine Dion singing over a reggaeton beat or something?
Well, I like Drake. I like that.
Maybe a cumbia beat. Maybe can we get that? Drake, Billie Eilish, and Nicky Jam. Okay, I can work with that. Perfect, Tommy. Just hire three people and say, look, you got 5 years to come up with it now. Let's hear it.
Get into a room and then come out in 5 years.
Yeah. Copa de la Vida is great, Nick. It's a great song. I love that song. It was the best World Cup song up until Waving Flag came out. And then that's the best. And it can't be topped. Even if we get Bieber, Becky G, Gypsy Kings, DaBaby, Drake, Lady Gaga. I mean, we could get all of them on the song, and it's not going to be better than Waving Flag. Caliber 50, that doesn't matter. It's not going to be better than Waving Flag. It is the best forever. Kanon, Fender X. Kanon. I'd love to get Outcast on it, Will, but that would require Andre like wanting to do something. So yeah. I'm gonna be incorrect there. Nick, you can go Iron Sheik. That's fine. You're wrong. I like the Italian 90 song. I'm giving it a lot of props. But Cup of Life is a great song. It's number 2. Number 2. Dos. Katie says Ricky Martin's better too. It's better than Shakira, but it's not better than Waving Flag. It's just not. Fender has downloaded it. Expectations are high. Now I'm afraid Fender's going to come back in and start hating. It's the best one. There's a lot of people who are on the right side of this, which is good to see. Some of you, just saying, it's not good. Not good. Sharif, you're on the right side. 4 cards on the right side. It's good to see. I knew there were some people who had good musical taste around here. John's not one of them. John, we were talking.
I would have said something along the lines of City of Blinding Lights with the Soweto Choir from South Africa with you, too.
You would bring in an Irish band for the Canadian, U.S., and Mexico World Cup. Like we can't do it ourselves? Come on now.
Well, I like the idea of Drake and Gaga just trying to come up with a third.
Yeah, not you two. No, not it. Not it at all. You did have some homework, though, last night because we were talking about potential MLS cities, and we were talking about what you could see going forward, and Phoenix's name came up. Now, at least one member of the Phoenix Rising ownership group has led an investment into Ipswich Town, so maybe they're not as interested in MLS these days. I don't know how much money they have to throw around. So I said Diplo and Pete Wentz are going to have to be the ones who spearhead the MLS bid. And John was like, who?
Basically.
John thought Pete Wentz was a singer-songwriter, and you thought Diplo was, quote, one of those rapper guys, unquote.
Yeah, pretty much.
What did you learn from your homework, John?
But apparently Diplo is dating Angelica Jolie.
Angelina Jolie?
Her.
Not Angelica. I don't know Angelica.
Yeah, her sister. No, Angelina Jolie and Diplo are apparently dating.
Okay. I didn't know that.
This is like new, actually. This literally is like new. They were at a casual barbecue, and Diplo posted the photos of him and Angelina Jolie on his social media.
Casual barbecues.
Okay.
Casual barbecues. Okay. Well, what did you learn about him musically, though? Because that's the important thing.
An American DJ, songwriter, and record producer based in Los Angeles with 2 kids.
Yeah, that's good. Do you know anything about him musically, John?
MIA, Mad Decent, Major Lazer, Jack.
You're just reading things. Do any of these mean anything to you?
None of this stuff triggers with me at all.
You got nothing. You didn't listen to anything from Diplo? You didn't do your homework?
I was more locked into the idea of the barbecue photos than anything else.
You were sidetracked by Angelica Jolie.
I was sidetracked by Angelica Jolie and the notion that this guy might be dating her.
Well, okay. Did you even get into Pete Wentz, or were you still distracted?
Fall Out Boy, is that right?
Yes, there you go. Good job.
Okay, because I remember Fall Out Boy vaguely.
Vaguely,
and I didn't until I was doing research. I did not remember that he married Ashley Simpson and was married to her for 3 years.
He was, yes. This is true.
But yeah, none of the songs triggered with me at all. That's like
you don't remember them, or you just didn't. I mean, Centuries was played before like every college football game one season, and I wanted to fight people by the end of the season.
And that's about the extent of it for me was Centuries.
And I mean, it's fine, but it was like, okay, I've heard it.
And they played it like every 12 seconds, and you want to sit there and go. You just want to like break the record into like 9 pieces over somebody's head.
Oh boy. Okay, well, you did a little bit of homework. You need to study Diplo's music, John, and get back to us because that's not good enough.
I'll check the barbecue photos with him and Angelica Jolie and get back to you.
Yes, that's not good of it. Back to random questions on a Friday because I think that's what has devolved into this show at this point.
Yeah.
People have checked out Waving Flag, and we have a review from Fender here in just a second. Will says, speaking of, how did you like Midland? I like Midland, Will. I what I didn't get to do was listen to the specific album you wanted to, but when I was driving, I had my Spotify pull up just Midland's, like, This Is Midland playlist. And it's good stuff. I like Midland. I need to check out that album specifically. I need to get back into my old school mentality of actually listening to an album. I know it's old school. I still call it an album.
As do I.
That's one of the biggest differences and weird things with music now. Like, you'd have singles off an album, of course, and some of them would be better than others, and some groups that weren't as great as others would have a single and then 9 songs of crap to put out an album and sell it for, $10 and blah, 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 blah. Now it's just, you can just put singles out all day if you want to. So I need to listen to the album as an album, and I'll get back to you on that. But I did listen to just a playlist of Midland's bigger songs, and it's very good stuff. I did not skip very much. I like Midland. Good modern country group. I can listen to that some.
Nathan Pugh is in on Twitter, and he says, I don't want to argue over semantics, designations, or be pedantic about salaries, but I believe Alan Franco is the first DP center back. By no means does that equate to a successful low goals conceded number, but I think this could be the next evolution of MLS.
No, not the first DP center back in the league. Michael Mancian was a DP in New England. That didn't work out very well. There have been a few, not a ton, but a few. It is the first for Atlanta, though. It's a designation, yeah. I mean, I don't want to put a whole lot of stock into it. I think investing in the defense is something Atlanta's done from day one. This takes it to a little bit higher level. But I think good expansion teams, and Nashville followed that recipe to a T. You've got to invest defensively. And if you want to be a good team in this league, you've got to have a competent defense. And investing in a center back like Alan Franco, yeah, you should have a competent defense here. Fender, wave and flag reaction. Lyrically, it fits a lot. A little too chill for my liking. I need a bounce or something faster to get hyped for sports. The one Fender, and there's a few different versions, and just the plain version is good. I think it's the one with David Bisbal, the Spain celebration mix or something like that. That's the one I usually go to. It's got a little more oomph to it. Olsworthy says, where would you put Franco on a list of MLS center back power rankings? Ooh, that's a good one. I got to think on that one for a quick second. I'll try not to stall too long. Zimmerman's in the mix. Janssen's in the mix. Mensah is in that mix. Mavinga is in the mix. I'm putting Andrew Farrell in the mix, and I know a lot of people won't. Pineda from Chicago is just outside the mix for me. Matt Hedges is just outside that mix for me. Andrade in Seattle may be in this conversation. Segura in LA is close. I'll probably, coming into the league and not seeing him in this way of playing, I'll probably have him 4-5, and I think he has the potential to be in like 1, 2, or 3. But I'll put him 4-5 straight away. That's what I've got. I like Pineda a lot. I think he's just outside of it. He's still got a little bit of growing to do. But 4-5 is where I'll put Franco right now today.
Tafka about Franco. He says he checks all the boxes. Martinez may have been a bit cheaper and a bit younger. Thrilled with how it all played out. Got a fantastic pedigree and seasoned player who's still 24 for darn cheap transfer.
Well, we think maybe. We don't 100% know because he's a designated player, but Martinez was younger, had more upside, I think. I think Franco's closer to a finished product here. Gianetti's absolutely a finished product. So you kind of got the in-between of the two. Martinez, young, a lot of potential. I think Martinez can be a special center back. Gianetti is a great center back in Argentina. Franco is still developing and getting better, and I think he can be at the level of Giannetti. He can actually pass him, especially if this style of play suits him, and that's what we'll have to wait and see.
Thad Dooley posting Jeff Carlisle's info about the Frankie Amaya deal. Carlisle says multiple sources tell ESPN the total outlay for Red Bulls that Red Bulls could, in quotation marks, send to Cincinnati is around $1 million.
Okay. Most
of this is guaranteed, some based on if incentives are reached.
Okay. Yeah, $750. I feel like I'm in the ballpark then.
Tafka had a roster question.
Okay.
It seems to be centered around a Josh Bauer notion here. He
Okay.
says if a player's loaned out, do they count against roster limits? For example, can you sign Bauer to a first-team deal, loan him season-long to the twos, and thereby open up a roster spot?
Yes, you could. You could do that. You could absolutely do that and make it work. There are situations where a loaned player does still take up a roster spot. I know in that case with the MLS team to its twos team, it doesn't. I think when it does, it's an international loan and you're still paying all the salary. Basically, I think what they're trying to do is keep teams from pulling a Chelsea and buying up a bunch of players and loaning them out but still paying the salaries. We have another one of these. Let's see. Jeff Reuter of The Athletic. Inter Miami has contacted several MLS clubs as they hope to find a trade partner for Matias Pellegrini. Sources tell Sam Stejskal and Reuter. Miami must be roster compliant by April 16th. 6 clubs that could make sense for the Argentine winger, so I don't know if we actually have teams that allegedly have reached out. The article is more speculation. Today, Jorge Mas stated that the club anticipated Pellegrini may qualify for the U22 Young Money Initiative. However, he conceded it wouldn't be the case, likely due to Pellegrini's salary, which we haven't seen, but it's got to be higher than we would have thought. Because the fee was between $6 and $9 million. That doesn't count for the U22 thing. The Athletic estimated his salary at $690,000 in 2020, which is just above that threshold. I guess you couldn't restructure his deal and get him under the threshold of being a U22 guy. I'm guessing I think that'd be the easy thing to do. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Somebody's going to get a good deal here because Miami has no bargaining power.
Yeah,
otherwise, they have to buy somebody out.
Yeah.
So the clubs that Reuter and Stejskal say fit, not that they have made an offer. These are teams, and they say, keeping in mind that writers and clubs are unaware of each MLS club's salary budget situation, these 6 teams stand out as potential landing spots. Colorado, they've got a lot of players in those positions. I'm not on that one. DC, 100% makes sense. Houston Dynamo, I think makes sense. New York Red Bulls makes some sense, but I don't think he fits their style of play. Real Salt Lake, absolutely, especially if they can get him on the cheap. San Jose, I don't know if he fits that style of play. He could fit with San Jose. I think he fits San Jose more than he fits Red Bulls. I think Salt Lake is the one who's hoping to catch a bargain. But DC is the one that would make the most sense. And the question would be, where does Hernan Losada, and they pointed out in the article, where does he see Yamil Asad? Is he a winger or is he a central player now? So, yeah. 3TH says MLSPA came out hard when there were rumors about the Galaxy restructuring the Dos Santos deal to get him under DP level. See, that was a different one, though, for me. That's why if they would come out hard on this, then they're being really stupid. Because $690,000, I can't remember what the max is from a salary perspective for them to go over the threshold. It's somewhere between $90,000 and less to get him under that. So it's not a massive restructuring. It could be give him another year and spread it out a little bit further. I don't know. And maybe they just can't. Maybe the MLSPA wouldn't let him do it. That feels like an overstep of their bounds if the player wants to do it. The MLSPA should allow that to happen. Thomas Jawin, would the transfer fee count against a team that trades for him? It would, because his cap hit is his cap hit. He's under contract. So he's under an MLS contract. So whoever takes him has to have a designated player slot or could buy him down from a designated player spot. And I guess Miami can't. I mean, that's the other thing here is if they can't, because I don't know how many years of a contract he is under, but if the transfer fee was on the high side of $9 million and his salary is at $690, I mean, let's say it's 5 years, then 9 going into 5 is almost $2 million.
1.8.
1.8 plus 690. You got a lot of allocation money. You got to buy that down. If it's on the 9 million, if it's on the 6, then maybe it's a little more manageable. But still, it's still going to be a little tricky. So you got to have a DP slot open or a lot of allocation money. I think DC is the one that makes the most sense to me, and Salt Lake will be sitting back and waiting to see if this hits the bargain bin.
With the pickup of Alan Franco, Tafka thinks Atlanta United is the most complete team 1-32 in MLS. Where would you put Atlanta United when it comes to complete from 1-32, and who would be in that same vein?
Columbus is in that same vein for sure. Columbus is the other one that comes to mind. Nashville's pretty close, just not quite as high quality at the top end of it. LAFC's top heavy, midfield and attack. The defensive group is not where the others are. Columbus is the most balanced. Philadelphia is in the ballpark. But they have a lot of young guys they're relying on. But that's their club structure. That's what they're going to do. So I think it's a little too early to go there yet. But like my positional group rankings with Franco added, Atlanta would be, I think, in the 4-5 range. I think Nashville, based off what we saw, you'd probably have them ahead. I do think Orlando's backline is really good. Colorado is where I might draw the line and have Atlanta go in at 3 once we see what Franco looks like with this group.
Let's see, what else? Got a couple more here. Rich Ransom isn't listening live this morning, but he says all the MLS teams went undefeated CCL on the road in the first leg. I'm not sure if that's the first time ever, but definitely would have not thought this 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm not 100% positive that it is, but I think it is the first time that has happened. It's a big step. It's a big step. You can hate Toronto, and I know a lot of you do, but it's still a good result for the league, even if you don't like that aspect of it. It is. And the other ones are good. Columbus beating Real Esteli last night, that was obvious. That was going to happen. Atlanta's win was big. Philadelphia's win was good. It wasn't as big because Saprisa's not as good. Toronto's draw was really good. Portland's draw was all right, was fine. Columbus's win was 100% expected. So it's big. It's big. Will says Nashville's like the 2014 Hawks. Solid throughout, no real superstars. It's a good call. Dax McCarty should be a superstar in a world that valued holding midfielders, but he's not. Because it's a different position. And Walker Zimmerman is a star center back, but that's a different level of star. So, yes. I did not get to see the game because obviously we were doing a show and then driving back. Nagbe, I guess, had an injury issue last night.
He did.
To what degree?
We do not know as of yet, but I will check updates. He had to be substituted out in the injury in the second half. Let's see if there's any update this morning quickly. And it does not appear that they have said anything publicly about a Darlington Nagbe injury from last night, checking the wires quickly.
Yeah, I haven't seen any detail there. Wanted to see if there was anything else since MLS seems to be getting crazy. Franco Panizzo says no Breck Shea at Miami training, looking to get official word as to why. Don't know what's going on there. Frankie Amaya move is a big one. It's a big one for the Eastern Conference. I think it gives Red Bulls a far more competent midfield now with Amaya in that spot. I think Frankie Amaya is one of the top young American players. I still have no idea why he wasn't part of the U23s. No clue why he wasn't part of that U23 group. Don't understand it. As John said, Jeff Carlisle of ESPN's reporting that's around $1 million. Most of it's guaranteed, some based on incentives. DK says, do you see Alan Franco playing Tuesday or making his debut against Orlando? I think he could come off the bench. I think he could come off the bench on Tuesday. In a perfect world, you get a couple first-half goals, and you're comfortable at halftime, and you bring on Franco to play 45. And then first start, I think, could be against Orlando. I'm with you. I imagine he's pretty fit. I think it's just getting comfortable with the way of playing. And he fits the aggressiveness side of it and playing a high line and stepping quickly. That part's no problem. It's the on-the-ball part that he just needs reps. That's all. I mean, could he start? Yeah, he could. I don't think you have to rush it, so it's just going to be on how he looks in training, which none of us have access to. So I'm not making that guess. But I do think we'll see him. I think that's a safe bet, unless it's just a weird game and things get weird. I think the plan would be to see him on Tuesday.
Yeah, Jacob Myers from the Columbus Dispatch post-match said that Nagbe walked off with the training staff, and he went straight down the tunnel. He didn't just sit down on the bench. He went straight down the tunnel in the 66th with an apparent knee injury from Myers. A few minutes before he was subbed off, Nagbe was kicked in the back of the foot, went down holding the back of his knee. Caleb Porter said it didn't look too serious, but he doesn't know the extent of the injury. The club will evaluate him this week.
Byrne was worried about it. He said it looked like the knee kind of bent inward when he planted. Sounds like maybe they don't think it's too bad. They don't know, so it doesn't look like anything's real serious. So we shall see on that. Question about where you can watch El Clasico. That is going to be on BN Sports at 3 o'clock on Saturday. If you don't have BN on any of your current streaming packages, fntz.co/soccerdown here is where you can get it. Bunch of games on the Fanatis networks, bunch of games on all kinds of other places this weekend. Alajuelense plays today at 5 o'clock, and it is allegedly going to be on Centro America TV. Allegedly. They might bump it for a Salvadoran soap opera. It could happen.
And call it and re-air it at 1 o'clock in the morning and call it live.
Sure, it could happen. One thing on Franco that needs to be understood, the COVID thing, that was reported by one person in Argentina that he tested positive here for it. And there was nothing else about it. So he could have. He could not have. That could have slowed things down. He might not have. I'm imagining he might get asked about that today in media availability. I don't know if he'll answer. I don't know if it'll come up. I don't know how that'll go. So that is speculation at this point, just to be safe, just to be sure. Other games today that I'll be keeping an eye on, that Independiente del Valle Gremio game at 6:15. That is on BN Sports. France and England women's friendly today at 3:10. That is on BN Sports Extra, which is available free. You can find it. Some places it's available over the air. It's on Pluto TV, for example. Very easy to find. You can watch it through Fanatis as well. Fulham and Wolves today at 3 o'clock. I'm sure John, our English snob, will be watching the Premier League on Peacock.
Yep. Well, provided now I know what the problem is. Peacock has locked up my television. I can't get out of Peacock. And
You're blaming Peacock now for your TV.
I am, because I can't get out of Peacock, and so I'm going to have to unplug my cable box and plug it back in and cold boot the whole system. But yeah, Fulham and Wolves is on our sheet for the Soccer Down Here Pick'em.
Well, what did everybody pick?
Everybody picked the draw except for me. I figured that if this is a game that Fulham needs, they got to steal one somewhere, so I went with Fulham. Everybody else picked the draw.
Mm-hmm. What? How are the standings looking, John? Have you done that?
Yeah, well, I'm up to date.
Okay, then where are they?
You, Nick, and Jarrett have each won once.
Yeah, it's not as good of a week.
You are ahead
of
of
course.
Jarrett by 55
I'll take it.
soccer down here dollars, and
Yeah.
ahead of Nick by 154 soccer dollars.
I'll take it. And we all have the same thing today.
Yes, you all have the same thing today, and I'm different than you.
What are the weekend picks?
El Clasico?
Yes.
Where 3 of us picked Barcelona, Nick picked the draw.
Okay.
Oh, and I've got to find up-to-date odds with Independiente and Racing. So let's see if we have numbers there. But 3 of us picked Independiente, and Jason, you picked Racing on the weekend, and so that's where we were different. But I got to find some odds here.
Okay.
Racing is a plus 141.
Mm-hmm.
Draws a plus 222. Independiente is a plus 181.
And I've got Racing.
Yes, you have Racing. Everybody else has Independiente.
Everybody else bowed down to the pressure from Gustavo. I went with the team that I think is going to win the match. So we will see where this goes. That's for the soccer over there section of the show. That will be on Monday night, where we'll see who comes out on top. Jarrett narrowly edged me last week, but he had an incredible week with 5 out of 6. I was 4 out of 6. 3 people finished to the positive side of the SDH Bucks. 1 person didn't, and it's the other person on the show today.
The other guy, yeah.
That other guy. And where are you this week?
I have not won a match yet. I would be commonly referred to as dead ass last.
Fair enough. Tonight, NWSL Challenge Cup, CBS Sports Network, 8:30, Houston Dash, Chicago Red Stars, 10:30, Paramount Plus, Portland Thorns, and Kansas City. Saturday, Racing Louisville and Orlando Pride, 7 o'clock on Paramount Plus. 3:30 Paramount Plus, North Carolina Courage and Washington Spirit. That's a good one, too. I'm really looking forward to that one. I'll be flipping over to it. On the NWSL front, this is the kickoff of the Challenge Cup. This is the short tournament that will conclude on May 8th. Then the regular season starts the next week, May 15th. Each of the teams will play 24 games. No break for the Olympics. Season will conclude on October 30th. 6 of the 10 teams will go into the playoffs. That will conclude on November 20th. A couple of big names that have moved around in the league. Mallory Pugh is with Chicago now. Casey Murphy is with the North Carolina Courage now. Racing Louisville being an expansion team. You got a few faces to look at. Savannah McCaskill and Yuki Nagasato. 2 of my favorite players in the league. 2 of the most talented players in the league. They go to Louisville from Chicago. Emily Fox, the number 1 overall pick, is also with Louisville. Portland gets Sophia Smith, who was the number 1 pick in 2020, who only played in the fall series last year. They've also got Crystal Dunn now, who comes over from the Courage. Washington Spirit, they have Kelly O'Hara. They have Emily Sonnet, 2 players from the Atlanta area who are now in Washington. And Trinity Rodman, the number 2 overall draft pick. Yes, you know the last name. Yes, you know who her father is. Yes, it is that Trinity Rodman, and she is one of the most exciting young players in this country. So I know everybody's going to talk about this guy.
Now I hit the rim, it's boom, click and go back this way, boom, here, click and go that way.
Yes, it is that Trinity Rodman, but Trinity's an amazing player. Amazing player. So really looking forward to watching her development. Other games this weekend, just to keep up with for the TV purposes, Sweden and USA Women's International Friendly, 1 o'clock on Fox on Saturday. You got Man City and Leeds, Peacock, 7:30 on Saturday, 7:30 in the morning. Big game in Ecuador, Emelec and Liga de Quito. That's at 6 o'clock on Goal TV on Saturday. 2 big games from Mexico, Cruz Azul and Chivas at 8 o'clock. Tigres and Club America at 10:05, both on Univision, both on TUDN. You've got a game from Fanatis at 9 o'clock, in between Deportivo Cali and Atlético Nacional from the first division in Colombia. Sunday, Sampdoria and Napoli is an early, interesting Serie A game at 9 o'clock. Tottenham and Manchester United on Peacock at 11:30. Why is everything on Peacock this weekend? Is there a reason as the resident English snob?
Probably Indy 500 trials.
Oh, there you go. John, you got a game at 12:15 on Sunday from Belgium on ESPN Plus. Yes, they're going to Anderlecht. Betis and Atleti is at 3 o'clock on BN Sports, and then a couple of games from Argentina on Sunday, Rosario Central and Banfield at 3:15, River Plate and Colón at 8 o'clock. But no Pulga Rodriguez. He has tested positive for the COVID.
A couple of other ones on Twitter to wrap things up on the Twitter end.
Yes.
From the Colonel. Per ESPN, Jose Mourinho says Tottenham is considering joining Swansea's social media boycott against abuse and discrimination. They wouldn't be the first in line, but they would be the largest club to date if they follow through.
Good.
Jake Michaels says he wants to hear your analysis / grading of the offseason. For Jake, it was an A+ between Heinz City on-field additions and the return of Paul McDonough.
I don't think you can say A+ just because we haven't seen it all play out yet. I mean, I think you gotta wait a little bit, but you have added a young player in Santi Sosa who could be a best 11 level talent even this year, if not this year, very, very soon. You get Joseph back, which isn't an addition, but it kind of feels like it. You get Moreno for a full season, which again isn't an addition, but it feels like it. Same with Jurgen Damm. Ibarra is a young player with promise. You get Eric Lopez. Again, he's been here, but you actually get him this season. Franco is a really good addition. It's not quite as many new starters as you might think. It's just some of these guys we haven't seen in a while or we haven't seen regularly, like Moreno and Dom and Joseph, et cetera, et cetera. It's good. It's very good. Paul McDonough getting back into this front office, being part of a team, a collective that has worked really well together, and being the cap guy in that and getting every single Garber buck you can find to get space in the cap. Yeah, it's good to have that. It's good to have somebody who understands the ins and outs of the league. So it's definitely good, but let's see a little bit more of it first before we get there. Let's see just a little bit more before we start grading that.
Then last one to catch us up on the Toronto hate. Tafka says he doesn't hate Toronto. Bradley and Josie annoy me, only 20% because of Trinidad's debacle, but not enough to hate the club. Orlando, Miami, LAFC, respectful hate. Red Bull, Seattle, Galaxy, NYC, Charlotte, yes, already. Those are his animosity clubs. His I root for them when it doesn't impact Atlanta at all clubs. Portland, the Crew, Nashville, Sporting, Dallas, and Philly.
Okay, fair enough. Question for what our smorgasbord primary game will be in the morning. It's kind of a weird morning. Like, there's a lot of good games this weekend, but there's not really a lot in the Saturday morning slot. I believe it will be Liverpool and Aston Villa, which will really excite John, the English snob.
No Jack Grealish.
I know, but I mean, the other options, Werder Bremen and RB Leipzig. Stuttgart and Dortmund is 12:30, so it's out of that slot. Bayern hosting Union Berlin, not really. Eintracht Frankfurt and Wolfsburg's pretty good.
Yeah, that was the one that was closest from the juice box perspective.
That's pretty good. We'll do that. I mean, it'll be kind of split, but okay, so we'll do 9:30 start for the smorgasbord with Eintracht Frankfurt and Wolfsburg as the primary. There'll be a lot of check-ins with Liverpool. There'll be some check-ins with Bilbao and Alaves. There's other games from Germany. There's also Spezia and Crotone. Anything can happen. You throw out the records when Spezia hosts Crotone. No question about it. We'll also cross over a little bit with Strasbourg and PSG. So we'll have plenty to talk about. But, yeah, that's what we'll stick with. Had a question about the jersey behind me. It is a split jersey, and it was a gift from Jessica Charman when she was in Colombia, not this past winter, but the winter before, because she got it when she was down there and then didn't get a chance to see her before a pandemic happened. Then she gifted it to me. The split is Colombia, obviously, and Deportes Quindío, which is the second division team in Colombia. So,
nice.
Yes, it is a very unique, interesting jersey. Thank you to Jess. I like interesting jerseys. So I try to mix those up occasionally behind me going on. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff right now. It's very busy. We're a week away from the MLS season getting started. We are just a few days away from the second legs of the ConcaChampions. There will be one that we feel like might be done and might not be. I don't know if it's Atlanta Alajuelense. I don't know if it's Saprissa. I don't think it is, but could be. Leon and Toronto will be a must-watch in the second leg, and people will be hate-watching it, I'm sure. Maratone Portland could be surprisingly interesting. I could see that. But Alajuelense, I think, will really come after this in the first half, but they're going to have to open up some space in behind. So Atlanta can exploit that. Fascinated to see what Atlanta's stance will be in this one to start. Now that we've seen them, we know what Atlanta did in Game 1. We know what Alajuelense did in Game 1. Does anybody change? Does anybody change what they're going to do here? So that's where it stands. I think we're going to end it there.
Okay.
And we will be back for the smorgasbord later. We will also have the interview from last night's show with Karim and with Jeremy from Chattanooga FC, Karim from North Georgia Soccer Association. That'll go up over the weekend on the app side of things, on the podcast side of things, if you missed it. If you are on Twitch, you can also subscribe to us via the podcast. You can give us reviews. You can laugh at our takes. You can laugh at our Toronto not love at all, but not hate, I guess.
Yeah.
Unhate. You can comment on John breaking TVs during the show. I mean, that happens too. Maybe that gets a 5-star review. I don't know. That'd be great if you want to do that. You can also hit us up on Patreon. We try to drop some kind of deeper dive stuff onto Patreon from time to time. Hopefully you've enjoyed those. Thanks, everybody who has bought a scarf. They should all be out to everybody. The second round of scarves are going out today. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody, for supporting. Thanks for watching last night. Thanks for being part of this madhouse that it turns into from time to time. We will be back tomorrow morning, 9:30, for the SDH Smorgasbord. Watch along from Europe. Until then, much plot, y'all.
Much plot, y'all.